So what if I told you that a 120-year mathematical clock started ticking the exact millisecond you took your first breath?
Right, which is just a wild concept.
It really is. Like, a clock that these ancient sages claim dictates exactly when you'll, rise to power, or when you'll fall in love, or face your greatest enemies.
Yeah, and even when you'll finally find peace.
Exactly. So today we're dismantling the mechanics of the Vimshatari Dasha, and really the entire framework of Hindu or Vedic astrology.
It's just a phenomenal concept to wrap your mind around. I mean, the idea that your life is not just this random sequence of chaotic events, but a highly structured, mathematically predictable unfoldment.
Which honestly sounds completely terrifying to a lot of people.
Oh, absolutely.
If you're listening to this right now, you might be thinking, I don't want a clock dictating my life. I mean, I want free will.
Right, which is totally understandable.
And that brings us to the core mission of today's deep dive, which, by the way, also serves as the grand finale of our 6-part series exploring these ancient systems of thought.
It's been quite a journey.
It really has. But our goal today is to cut straight through those, fatalistic cookbook interpretations of astrology you always see floating around the internet.
Yes, please. We need to get past that.
We are looking at the rigorously analytical, highly logical, and deeply spiritual framework that actually governs this whole system.
And that distinction is just so vital because so much of what people encounter today is, well, a watered-down, deterministic version of something that was originally designed to be this profound map of human potential.
A map, right, not a strict set of rules.
Exactly. I mean, a map doesn't force you to drive down a certain road,
Right.
It just shows you where the traffic jams are and, well, where the scenic routes are.
I love that framing, the scenic routes of your life. And to guide us through reading this map today, our source material is drawn from the foundational texts and teachings of K.N. Rao.
He's a legend in this space.
Truly. Specifically, we're diving into his works, Astrology, Destiny, and the Wheel of Time, and learn Hindu astrology easily.
Which are fantastic resources.
They really are. And these texts are explicitly designed to demystify the system. Because Rao was famous for demanding analytical rigor.
He was a revolutionary figure in modern astrology, precisely because he addressed the modern skeptical mind.
Right.
He understood that intelligent people want a systematic approach.
Right.
He constantly called out the frauds and the fatalists who use astrology merely to, scare people into buying expensive remedies.
And oh yeah, the fear-mongering is real.
It's everywhere. But instead of that, he provides a structured, step-by-step methodology for evaluating a chart based on observable rules.
So whether you are a total skeptic tuning in out of curiosity, or maybe a beginner who just downloaded their chart and is staring at a bunch of confusing geometric squares.
We've all been there.
Yeah, or even a seasoned enthusiast, this deep dive is going to equip you with the actual method behind the magic. We're going to learn how to read this map of human destiny, relying purely on the architecture and the logic of the system.
And the best place to begin is really with the physical architecture itself.
Okay, let's build the foundation.
Right. So, to understand how this system reads human destiny, you have to imagine the sky divided into a very specific mathematical grid. We start with the zodiac, or the Pachakra, which is a 360-degree circle encompassing the Earth.
A giant 360-degree circle that obviously needs to be sliced into manageable pieces.
Precisely. This 360-degree circle is divided into 12 equal houses, or rashis.
So just doing the basic math on that, 360 divided by 12 gives us 30 degrees per house.
Exactly right. Each of these 12 houses, starting from Mesha, which corresponds to the constellation of Aries, all the way to Mina, which Pisces represents exactly a 30-degree slice of the sky.
And what do these slices actually do?
Well, these 12 houses provide the static environment of the chart. They're the different arenas of life.
Like different categories.
Yeah, like the body, wealth, courage, home, children, enemies, partnerships, transformation, luck, career, gains, and loss.
Okay, but an environment is just an empty room without inhabitants. I mean, you need someone in those arenas actually doing things.
And that is exactly where the 9 grahas, or planets, come in. And the word graha is actually super fascinating.
Oh, how so?
It doesn't translate literally to planet in the astronomical sense. The Sanskrit root actually means to seize or to grasp.
The seas, they're literally grabbing hold of our consciousness.
That is the exact philosophical implication, yeah. The grahas are forces that seize our minds, influencing our psychological states and our karma.
Now, when we say 9 planets, I feel like my high school astronomy teacher would probably be screaming at the radio right now.
Oh, for sure.
We should probably clarify what bodies we are actually tracking here.
Right, so in Hindu astrology, we are looking at 7 physical celestial bodies. The Sun, the Moon, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, and Saturn.
So no Uranus, Neptune, or Pluto.
No, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto are not used in this classical system. Because they're so distant and slow-moving, the ancient seers considered their effects generational, rather than deeply personal on a day-to-day karmic level.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
But then we add two shadowy planets, Rahu and Ketu.
Okay, I always get stuck on Rahu and Ketu. Because they aren't physical rocks floating in space, right?
Right, they have no mass.
They don't have an atmosphere. How can a system that prides itself on mathematical rigor assign such massive importance to things that aren't even there?
It all comes down to gravity and the intersection of orbits. Rahu and Ketu are the north and south lunar nodes.
Lunar nodes. Okay, explain that for us visually.
Well, if you track the orbit of the Earth around the Sun and the orbit of the Moon around the Earth, those two orbital planes intersect at two specific mathematical points.
And eclipses happen at those exact intersection points, right?
Yes, exactly. When the Sun, Moon, and Earth align at these nodes, the light of the luminaries is literally blocked out.
Wow.
So even though you cannot look through a telescope and see Rahu or Ketu, the ancient sages calculated these intersection points with incredible precision.
Because they can block the sun.
Right. Because these points have the power to swallow the Sun and the Moon during an eclipse, they were assigned massive karmic significance. They represent disruption, sudden changes, and the shadows of the human psyche.
The sources are very clear that we shouldn't just think of these 9 grahas as orbiting rocks or mathematical points, though. They act as karakas.
Karakas, right, meaning significators or doers.
Doers, I like that.
Every planet is a living, breathing archetype with a highly specific, really complex portfolio. They rule over specific aspects of human life, anatomy, and psychology.
Let's dedicate some time to walking through these archetypes, because this is where the personality of the system really starts to emerge. Let's start with the luminaries.
Okay, the Sun and Moon.
Right, the sun isn't just a star that keeps us warm. In this system, it is the soul.
The Atma, yes.
Oh.
The Sun represents the purest spark of consciousness within you. But in a worldly sense, it also represents royalty, the father, dignity, authority, and ego.
So it's kind of the boss of the chart?
It is the king of the planetary cabinet, absolutely. How the Sun is placed in your chart dictates your natural confidence and your relationship to authority.
Which brings us to the queen. If the sun is the soul, the moon is the mind, the manas.
The moon is arguably the most crucial physical body in this entire system. It represents the mother, the emotions, the psychological health of the individual, and really how you react to the world around you.
I want to pause on that distinction for a second. The sun is the soul and the moon is the mind. Why is that separation so important for someone trying to understand their own life?
That's a great question. Think of the soul as a pure light source, like a projector bulb.
Okay, a projector bulb.
It has a singular divine purpose. But the mind, the moon, is the film strip running in front of that bulb.
Oh, wow.
If the film is scratched, agitated, or warped by trauma, the image projected onto the screen of your life is going to be distorted.
That is such a good analogy.
Your soul might want peace, but if your mind is constantly anxious, your actual experience of reality is anxiety. Hindu astrology prioritizes the moon because you experience all of your karma through the filter of your mind.
That makes total sense. Okay, moving to the physical planets, we have Mars. The sources call him the commander-in-chief.
Mars is drive, courage, action, and martial energy. It's the blood in your veins and the adrenaline in your system.
So we need Mars.
Oh, absolutely.
That
We need Mars to protect ourselves, to assert boundaries, and to achieve our goals. But when it's afflicted, it becomes aggression, violence, and impulsivity.
Right, it goes overboard. Then we have Mercury, the prince.
Mercury is the intellect, the nervous system, communication, business, and adaptability.
Like networking.
Exactly. If you think about modern business, the constant flow of data, networking, trade, negotiating, that is all pure Mercury.
Oh.
It's neutral, absorbing the energy of whoever it hangs out with, much like an impressionable prince at court.
Next is the great guru, Jupiter.
Jupiter is the heaviest planet in our solar system, and in astrology, it carries the heaviest blessings.
The best kind of heavy.
Right. It represents wisdom, the divine, the sacred, higher education, wealth, and children. Jupiter is the principle of expansion and optimism.
So it's where things feel easy.
Pretty much. Wherever Jupiter sits in your chart is where you feel a sense of abundance and grace.
And contrasting that, we have Venus. Venus is also a guru, but like a guru of the material world.
Yes, Shukra. Venus represents art, grace, relationships, diplomacy, romance, and the finer things in life.
So if Jupiter is the monk, Venus is the socialite.
You could say that. If Jupiter teaches you how to pray, Venus teaches you how to appreciate a beautiful painting or enjoy a magnificent meal. Venus is the connective tissue between people.
And then we arrive at Saturn. I have to challenge the traditional reading here because in so much of Western pop astrology, Saturn is just the Grim Reaper.
Right, the dreaded Saturn return.
Exactly. People dread their Saturn return in their late 20s because they think the planet is just going to ruin their lives with misery and delay. Does the Vedic system view it with that same inherent dread?
Well, it acknowledges the dread, but it provides a much deeper philosophical context for it. Saturn is the slowest moving of the visible planets, taking about 2.5 years to move through a single sign.
That's a long time to be stuck in one house.
It is. Because it's slow, it brings delay. Because it's far from the sun, it's cold. It brings discipline, hardship, aging, and the heavy consequences of past karma.
So it actually is the Grim Reaper.
I mean, on a material level, it can certainly feel that way. But its ultimate spiritual goal is vairagya, which translates to detachment.
Detachment.
Saturn strips away what is false. It breaks down the ego and your attachment to superficial things in order to build spiritual endurance. A strong Saturn gives you the grit to survive anything.
So it's not just mean for the sake of being mean.
No, it isn't punishing you for fun, it's forcing you to mature.
It's like the personal trainer that makes you do burpees until you cry, not because they hate you, but because you need the muscle.
Precisely. And finally, we have the nodes, Rahu and Ketu, which act as the ultimate extremes of human behavior.
Rahu is described as the ultimate extrovert.
Rahu is pure, unadulterated ambition. It is the drive to break taboos, to innovate, to obsess, and to conquer the unconventional.
Insatiable desire.
Yes. In the modern world, Rahu governs things like artificial intelligence, mass media, and viral trends. Things that explode seemingly out of nowhere and lack a traditional foundation.
And Ketu is the opposite, the ultimate introvert.
Ketu represents spiritual liberation, moksha. It's the process of cutting away attachments.
Just completely unplugging.
Right. While Rahu wants to consume everything, Ketu wants to renounce everything. Ketu can plunge a person into deep, baffling psychological depths, but it's also the source of profound intuition and mystical insight.
Okay, so we have our 12 arenas, the 30-degree houses, and we have our 9 complex archetypal actors.
The stage and the gas.
Right. But this is where the system takes a massive structural turn that completely changes the resolution of the chart. We don't just stop at the 12 houses. The sources introduce a third layer, the nakshatras.
This is a major differentiator from almost every other astrological system.
How so?
Well, while the 12 houses primarily track the sun's path through the sky, the 27 nakshatras, or lunar mansions, track the moon.
Why specifically the number 27? I mean, is there a mathematical reason for that?
It is entirely mathematical. It takes the moon roughly 27.3 days to complete an orbit around the Earth.
Ah, okay.
So the ancient seers took that same 360-degree zodiac and divided it into 27 segments, representing the moon's daily movement. If you divide 360 by 27, you get exactly 13 degrees and 20 minutes.
So each nakshatra is a highly specific 13-degree, 20-minute slice of the sky.
Yes. And because the moon is the mind, the nakshatra the moon occupies at your birth gives us a microscopic look into the exact psychological microclimate of your consciousness.
I love thinking about this mechanically, so let me try a metaphor on you.
Let's hear it.
If we look at the birth chart, like a massive theatrical production, the 12 houses are the physical stage settings. You've got the living room set, the battlefield set, the corporate office set.
Sure.
The 9 planets are the actors, each with their own distinct, unchangeable personalities. Like, Saturn is the strict method actor, Venus is the glamorous romantic lead, Mars is the action star.
The physical environment and the talent.
Exactly. But the 27 nakshatras, they are the actual script and the stage directions. They tell the actors exactly how to deliver their lines and when to walk on stage.
That is a brilliant conceptualization.
Thanks.
The nakshatra really provides the underlying motivation for the planet. You might have the moon in the house of Leo, which is generally grand, regal, and confident.
Right, very fiery.
But Leo contains 3 different nakshatras within its 30 degrees. Depending on which of those 3 13-degree, 20-minute slices the moon sits in, the actual psychological experience of that person will vary wildly.
Oh, wow. So they could be totally different types of Leos.
Exactly. One might be fiercely independent, another might be deeply focused on ancestry, and another might be a natural performer. The nakshatra gives you the high-definition resolution.
Okay, so we know our actors, and we know the stage they're standing on. But an actor's performance entirely depends on how comfortable they feel in their environment.
Definitely.
Like, if you force a method actor to perform in a slapstick comedy set, they're going to struggle. So how does this system map the comfort level of these planets?
In this framework, a planet's placement in a specific house dramatically alters its behavior. We call this planetary dignity, or planetary moods.
Planetary moods, I like that.
The sources lay out a very strict geometric hierarchy of planetary happiness. At the very top of the hierarchy is a condition called exaltation, or deepta.
This is when a planet is extremely happy, powerful, and operating at its absolute highest potential. It's the actor winning an Oscar.
Yes. Let's look at the sun, for example. The sun is exalted in Aries.
Okay, why Aries?
Because Aries is the sign of the pioneer, the initiator, the fearless leader. The sun, representing the king and the ego, feels incredibly empowered and energized in an environment that demands bold, independent action.
And Jupiter, the planet of wisdom, is exalted in Cancer.
Right. Cancer is a water sign. It represents deep emotion, maternal nourishment, and empathy. True wisdom, Jupiter's highest manifestation, requires deep compassion.
That's beautiful.
Without compassion, wisdom is just cold dogma. So Jupiter thrives in the nurturing environment of Cancer.
Below exaltation, we have a tier called Mula Trikona, and then own house.
Think of Mula Trikona as a planet being in its favorite office, sitting at its custom-built desk.
Very productive.
It is comfortable, favorable, and highly productive. Own house is exactly what it sounds like the planet is in a sign it owns. It's relaxing in its own living room.
Just chilling.
Yeah. It feels secure and stable, though perhaps not quite as driven to achieve great heights as it is when exalted.
But then we have the bottom of the barrel, the condition known as debilitation.
Debilitation is when a planet is miserable, weak, and profoundly frustrated. Its energy is completely distorted. And the fascinating mathematical rule here is that a planet's point of debilitation always occurs exactly 180 degrees away in the 7th house from its point of exaltation.
That is such a beautiful geometric symmetry.
Isn't it?
So if the sun is exalted in Aries, it must be debilitated in Libra, because Libra is directly across the zodiac from Aries.
Exactly. Let's unpack the logic of that. The sun is the independent king. He wants to rule autonomously. Libra is the sign of partnerships, compromise, negotiations, and balance.
Oh, I see. The king does not want to compromise.
No, he wants his word to be law. So when the sun is placed in Libra, it feels stifled, forced to negotiate its own identity. The ego becomes debilitated.
What about Jupiter? If it's exalted in the compassionate water of Cancer, it must be debilitated in Capricorn.
Yes. Capricorn is an earth sign ruled by Saturn. It represents cold, hard structure, corporate ambition, and material status.
Not very warm and fuzzy.
Not at all. Jupiter's expansive spiritual wisdom gets frozen in the rigid material constraints of Capricorn. It becomes overly pragmatic and loses its sense of divine optimism.
So a planet's mood is heavily dictated by the sign it sits in. But the texts also dedicate a lot of space to planetary friendships. Planets have natural friends, natural enemies, and neutrals.
This is a huge part of chart analysis.
And to a casual reader, this just sounds like arbitrary mythology. Like, oh, the sun hates Saturn because they had a fight in a myth. But there's a strict structural mathematical rule to it.
The profound logic of the system really reveals itself right here. Friendships aren't arbitrary. They're calculated based on spatial distance from a planet's primary residence, its Mula Trikona sign.
The rule is very specific. The text states that the lords of the 2nd, 4th, 5th, 8th, 9th, and 12th houses from a planet's Mula Trikona sign become its natural friends.
That's the list, yes.
But how am I supposed to remember that string of numbers, and why does it even make sense?
Well, you don't have to memorize it blindly if you understand the underlying architecture.
Yeah.
Let's break it down psychologically and structurally. The 5th and 9th houses in any chart are the trines, the houses of divine luck, wisdom, and natural affinity.
I get the lucky houses.
It makes perfect sense that the lords of those lucky houses would be your friends.
That covers 5 and 9. What about 2, 4, 8, and 12?
The 2nd house is your wealth and resources. The 4th house is your home and inner peace. The 12th house represents your expenditures and your subconscious. The 8th is transformation.
Oh, I get it. They support the planet.
Exactly. The planets ruling these specific geometric distances from a planet's home base provide the necessary support structure for that planet to function.
That's amazing.
Let's use the sun as a practical example. The sun's Mula Trikona sign is Leo. If you start at Leo and count 5 houses forward, you reach Sagittarius, which is ruled by Jupiter.
Okay.
If you count 9 houses forward, you reach Aries, which is ruled by Mars. Therefore, Jupiter and Mars are mathematically calculated to be the Sun's greatest allies.
And conversely, if we look at Saturn, Saturn's great friends are Mercury and Venus.
Which makes sense even conceptually, completely independent of the math. Saturn is the harsh worker, the ascetic. Mercury brings skill and commerce. Venus brings diplomacy and reward. They balance Saturn's severity.
But the Sun and Saturn, they are bitter enemies.
Right. The king, the Sun, demands obedience. And the servant, Saturn, represents the masses in rebellion. They have fundamentally opposing agendas.
Let me bring this back to a real-world scenario to make it sticky for the listener. Imagine hosting a dinner party.
I love these analogies.
If you force two sworn enemies, let's say, the Sun and Saturn, to sit at the same table in a house that they both absolutely hate, you have created a debilitated planet in an enemy sign.
It's going to be rough.
It's going to be a tense, miserable dinner. Passive-aggressive comments are going to fly, and things are going to get broken.
The energy is either blocked completely, or it manifests destructively as frustration and conflict in the person's life.
But if you put best friends like the Sun, Mars, and Jupiter in a house that one of them owns, laughing, sharing food, you have a recipe for immense success and free-flowing synergistic energy.
And that is step 1 of reading a chart. You look at the planets and ask, are they exalted? Are they in their own house? Are they sitting with their friends? Or are they trapped in a room with their enemies?
Okay, so we know our actors, and we know if they're happy in their dressing rooms, but a play is about chemistry. An actor doesn't perform in a vacuum. A birth chart is a massive map of 12 interconnected houses. So how does the system map the way these planets actually talk to each other across the vastness of the stage?
This brings us to one of the most critical analytical tools in K.N. Rao's teachings. To read a chart dynamically, you have to use the PAC method.
Position, aspect, conjunction. The sources call this the foundational memory tablet for reading any chart.
It's the mandatory mental checklist to bring the static chart to life. Whenever you analyze a planet, you cannot just look at it in isolation. You must evaluate its PAC.
Walk us through it.
First, position. Where is the planet physically located? Which house, which sign, and what is its mood there?
Got it.
Second, conjunction. Who is it physically sharing that 30-degree space with? Is it sitting shoulder to shoulder with a friend or an enemy?
Okay, who's in the room with them?
And third, aspect, or drishti.
I want to spend a lot of time on drishti because it is such a wild concept.
It's very unique.
The word translates to sight or gaze. The idea is that a planet projects its energy across the chart just by looking. Let's unpack the rules of aspect because they are very specific and, again, highly geometric.
The universal baseline rule of aspect in Hindu astrology is that all planets aspect the 7th house from themselves.
Wait, why the 7th house? I mean, is that just a random ancient rule or is there a structural logic to it?
It's pure geometry and human psychology. The 7th house is exactly 180 degrees away. It represents the horizon directly opposite the planet.
Okay, opposite horizon.
Think about it. In astrology, your greatest focus, your point of tension and relationship, is always on what is directly in front of you, opposing you. If you're standing in a room, your gaze naturally falls on the wall directly across from you. Every planet projects its sole, unadulterated energy 180 degrees across the zodiac.
So, if a planet is in the 1st house, it's staring directly at the 7th house. If it's in the 2nd, it's staring at the 8th.
Correct. But as with everything in this system, there is a layer of nuance based on the archetypal nature of the planets. 3 specific planets get special bonus aspects.
Bonus aspects?
Yeah, they can look around corners, so to speak. They project energy to houses other than just the 7th.
Those 3 are Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. And the sources explain why, based on their inherent nature.
Let's start with Mars. Mars aspects the 4th house and the 8th house from itself, in addition to the standard 7th house aspect.
Why are those houses?
Because Mars is the commander, the protector, and the tactical warrior. The 4th house represents the home, the homeland, and inner security. A good commander always keeps a vigilant eye on the homeland to protect it from invasion.
So the 4th house gaze is defensive.
Exactly. And the 8th house represents vulnerabilities, hidden dangers, and the enemy's weak points. A warrior is always scanning for the fatal strike, looking for the ambush. So Mars' vision is highly tactical. It guards the rear and targets the shadows.
That is just brilliant. Okay, what about Jupiter?
Jupiter gets special aspects on the 5th and 9th houses from itself. As we discussed earlier, the 1st, 5th, and 9th houses form a geometric triangle, known as the trines.
The lucky houses again.
Yes, These represent divine blessings, good karma, and wisdom. Jupiter is the great guru, the great benefactor. It doesn't just look across the room, it casts a wide, triangular net of grace, blessing the entire network of luck and wisdom in a person's chart.
It's like Jupiter is standing in the center of a cathedral, and its energy just naturally fills all the architectural arches.
That's a perfect visual.
And then there is Saturn.
Saturn is the taskmaster, the planet of heavy karma and effort. Saturn aspects the 3rd house and the 10th house from itself.
Okay, the 3rd and 10th.
The 3rd house is the house of courage, self-effort, and sheer willpower. The 10th house is the house of karma, career, and public action. Saturn's gaze demands that you put in the grueling effort, the 3rd house, to achieve your karmic duties and status of the 10th house. Its gaze is heavy, demanding, and inescapable.
Let me ask a clarifying question here for anyone listening who is trying to visualize their own chart, because this is where the static map really becomes a living ecosystem.
Sure, go ahead.
Let's say I have an empty 2nd house. The 2nd house represents my accumulated wealth and savings. There are 0 planets sitting in it.
Okay, empty 2nd house.
But I have a debilitated, angry Mars sitting in the 8th house directly across the chart. Because all planets aspect the 7th house from themselves, that angry Mars is looking directly at my empty wealth house. Can that cause financial damage even though the wealth house is completely empty?
Absolutely. Emphatically, yes. An aspect is a literal transfer of energy. Think of an aspect like acoustics in a stone cathedral.
Sticks.
Yeah. The 2nd house might be completely empty of physical people, but if someone is playing a heavy, dissonant, aggressive organ chord in the 8th house, those sound waves travel directly across the room and fill that empty 2nd house with aggressive energy.
Wow. So the house isn't truly empty. It's vibrating with the frequency of Mars.
Yes. If an angry, frustrated Mars is glaring at your house of wealth, it's projecting sudden expenses, conflicts over money, or aggressive financial decisions into that area of your life.
That is wild.
And conversely, if a beautifully exalted Jupiter is casting its 5th house aspect onto that same empty wealth house, it fills that space with a harmonious frequency, the promise of expansion, luck, and financial protection. You literally cannot read a chart without tracking the invisible sightlines and acoustic waves of the planets.
Okay, so now we understand how planets behave, how they form alliances, and how they project their power across the chart using the Pesci method. We have the underlying mechanics.
We have the tools.
But how do we spot the macro patterns? I mean, if I'm looking at this complex web of interactions, how do I know if I'm looking at the chart of a future billionaire, a great spiritual leader, or someone who is going to face a lifetime of intense struggle?
This brings us to the core of predictive astrology, and really the focal point of K. Rao's methodology, yogas.
Since this is the grand finale of our series, I want to spend some serious time here. We are going to provide a comprehensive audio overview of the most important classical yogas in Vedic astrology.
It's the perfect way to wrap up the series.
The word yoga means union, and in this context, it refers to specific planetary combinations that create some vastly greater than their parts.
Right. And K. Rao uses a very helpful acronym to help students memorize what to look for when evaluating these macro combinations. DARCs. D-A-R-C-S.
Let's lay out the tablet. D stands for Dana, which refers to combinations for wealth.
A stands for Arishta, which translates to misfortune, struggle, or illness.
Bar stands for Raja Yoga, which are the ultimate combinations for royal power, status, and massive success.
C stands for conjunctions, which we discussed in the Pesci method.
And S stands for special aspects, the unique gazes of Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn that we just talked about.
The 3 letters we really need to focus on for evaluating a person's life trajectory are D, A, and R: wealth, misfortune, and power. Let's start with the mechanics of the Raja Yoga, the R.
A Raja Yoga translates roughly to a royal union. It is the signature of high achievement. But how does it actually form structurally in a chart? I mean, it isn't just random luck, right?
No, it comes down to the structural intersection of 2 specific types of houses. First, we have the Kendras, or quadrants. These are houses 1, 4, 7, and 10. The Kendras act as the physical pillars of the chart. They represent action, effort, and the tangible realities of life.
They're the arenas where you actually have to do the work.
Correct. And then we have the Trikonas, or trines, houses 1, 5, and 9. The Trikonas represent luck, divine blessings, past life merits, innate talent, and grace. A Raja Yoga occurs when the planetary lord of a Kendra, a house of action, connects with the planetary lord of a Trikona, a house of luck, through a conjunction or an aspect.
So mechanically, when your hard work and sheer effort, the Kendra, meet your innate luck and divine blessings, the Trikona, boom, you get a Raja Yoga. You get undeniable, frictionless success.
Precisely. If the Lord of your 10th house of career connects with the Lord of your 9th house of luck, that person's career is blessed with extraordinary fortune and a rapid rise to prominence. They are in the right place at the right time with the right skills.
Now, within the realm of high achievement, the texts highlight a specific group of yogas that we absolutely must cover today to conclude our series. The Pancha Mahapurusha Yogas, the 5 great human combinations.
These are arguably some of the most famous and potent yogas in the entire astrological system. They're formed specifically by the 5 non-luminary planets: Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, and Saturn.
So the sun and moon are excluded from this specific group.
Right, the luminaries have their own special combinations, which we will address. But the Pancha Mahapurusha Yogas occur under very strict conditions. One of these 5 planets must be placed in its own house or its exaltation sign, and it must simultaneously be sitting in a Kendra houses 1, 4, 7, or 10.
So it has to be incredibly happy and powerful based on its mood. And D, it has to be sitting in a primary pillar of action where it can project its immense power directly into the real world.
It's a double requirement.
Let's walk through all 5 archetypes because they define greatness in completely different ways. What happens when Mars forms this yoga?
When Mars is exalted or in its own house in a quadrant, it forms the Ruchaka yoga. This creates a person of immense courage, undeniable leadership, and martial prowess.
Like a general.
Yeah, they are decisive, intensely energetic, and often find themselves in positions of command. Think of top-tier military generals, elite athletes, or cutthroat corporate CEOs who thrive in high-stakes negotiations. They are the ultimate protectors and conquerors.
Next is Mercury. When Mercury meets these conditions, it forms the Bhadra yoga.
Bhadra yoga bestows extraordinary intellect, flawless communication skills, and unparalleled business acumen. These are your brilliant writers, your charismatic orators, your top-level data analysts, and tech entrepreneurs.
The brainiacs.
Exactly. Their mind is their greatest weapon. They don't fight with swords like Mars. They can outthink, outtalk, and outmaneuver almost anyone in a boardroom.
Then we have the guru, Jupiter.
Jupiter forms the Hamsa yoga. Hamsa means swan, which is a profound symbol of purity and spiritual discrimination in Hindu philosophy. The swan is said to be able to separate pure milk from water.
That's a beautiful image.
It is.
Yeah.
A person with Hamsa yoga possesses deep wisdom, a profound moral compass, and often high spiritual elevation. They naturally become respected advisors, judges, philanthropists, and teachers. Their mere presence commands reverence and brings a sense of peace to a room.
4th is Venus, forming the Malavya yoga.
Venus brings the Malavya yoga, which graces a person with incredible charm, artistic genius, and a life of deep comfort and luxury. They are magnetic.
The artists.
Right, this yoga is often found in the charts of globally famous actors, iconic musicians, fashion designers, and people who have a profound, world-shaping appreciation for beauty and aesthetics. They influence culture through grace.
And finally, Saturn, the great taskmaster. When Saturn is exalted or in its own house in a Kendra, we get the Sasa yoga.
Sasa yoga creates a person of phenomenal endurance, unbreakable discipline, and massive structural authority. They are the builders of empires.
Wow. Empires.
These are people who can outlast any competition, not through flashy brilliance, but through sheer perseverance and strategic patience. They often rise to positions of immense political or organizational power, carrying the heavy burdens of leadership that would crush a normal person.
It's just incredible how distinctly different each of those 5 paths to greatness is. But you mentioned the luminaries. The sun and the moon have their own combinations. The texts highlight a few core solar and lunar yogas that are just as vital to evaluate.
Let's look at the moon first, because the moon is the filter of your reality. The most famous and highly sought-after lunar combination is the Gajakesari Yoga.
Breaking down the Sanskrit there, Gaja means elephant and Kesari means lion, an elephant-lion yoga.
It sounds aggressive, but it's actually deeply noble. Gajakesari Yoga occurs when Jupiter is situated in a Kendra, a quadrant, from the moon. This means Jupiter and the moon are either conjoined in the same house, or sitting exactly 4, 7, or 10 houses away from each other.
So structurally, the moon is constantly supported and stabilized by the divine wisdom and optimism of Jupiter.
Exactly. This yoga promises deep inner wisdom, an impeccable public reputation, a lasting legacy, and a steady, protected rise in life. The person overcomes obstacles with grace. The metaphor of the elephant and the lion is that even when surrounded by enemies or challenges, they triumph through sheer majesty and superior moral character. They're untouchable.
And what about the sun? What is the defining solar combination?
The most common yet highly effective solar combination is the Buddha Yoga. Buddha is the planet Mercury, and Aditya is a name for the sun. This yoga is formed when the sun and Mercury are conjoined in the same house.
I have to pause on the astronomy here. Since Mercury is the closest planet to the sun, it is always traveling right next to it astronomically. Therefore, this must be a pretty common yoga, right? A lot of people must have it.
It is common, which is exactly why its strength must be evaluated carefully based on the house and the condition of the planets. It isn't an automatic guarantee of genius.
So it's not a free pass.
No. But when it forms in an auspicious house without being damaged by malefic planets, it creates a person with sharp intelligence, brilliant administrative skill, and a mind that can process vast amounts of information with solar brilliance. It's the mark of a skilled manager, a sharp accountant, or a clever political strategist.
Okay, so we've talked about wealth, dana, and power Raja Yoga. We've looked at the heights of human potential. But the A in the Darks tablet stands for Arishta, or misfortune. The text associates Arishta with the influences of the 3rd, 6th, 8th, and 12th houses.
These are traditionally referred to as the Dastanas, the difficult houses. The 6th house represents disease, debts, and enemies. The 8th house is sudden shocks, chronic illness, and mortality. The 12th house is loss, isolation, hospitals, and foreign lands.
I really need to push back here.
Go for it.
If I'm listening to this and I pull up my chart and see like 3 or 4 planets piled up in my 6th house, am I just doomed? Is the 6th house always a disaster waiting to happen? It feels very fatalistic.
Not at all, and this is where the profound nuance of Hindu astrology separates it from cheap fortune-telling. The 6th house is the house of obstacles, enemies, and disease. But if you place a natural malefic planet there, a harsh planet like Mars or Saturn, something fascinating happens dynamically.
Does the bad planet in the bad house cancel out like a double negative?
In a functional way, yes. Think about it logically. If you have a house full of enemies and obstacles, do you want peaceful, diplomatic Venus in there trying to negotiate?
No, Venus would get crushed.
Right, Venus will get crushed. You want a fierce warrior in that house.
Right.
A fierce planet like Mars or Saturn in the 6th house gives you the absolute tenacity, the aggression, and the sheer willpower to crush those obstacles.
Oh, that makes sense.
It makes you a fighter. You need a strong 6th house influence to win complex lawsuits, to ruthlessly beat out competitors in business, or to conquer a severe disease.
That reframes it completely. The 6th house isn't just bad luck, it's the arena where you learn to fight and win.
Furthermore, it is crucial for spiritual discipline. Overcoming the internal enemies of ego, greed, and desire requires that exact same 6th house tenacity. So no, a loaded 6th house does not mean you're doomed. It means you're built for the arena.
But looking at all these yogas, of the Raja Yogas, the Mahapurusha Yogas, the Arishta Yogas, it brings up a very practical, real-world problem.
What's that?
I know people, and I'm sure anyone listening knows people, who have birth charts that look like they belong to a billionaire or a saint. They have a massive, flawless Raja Yoga, but they're sitting on their couch, working a job they hate, and nothing extraordinary is happening in their lives. The yoga never seems to activate. Why?
Which leads us directly to the most vital mechanical component of this entire system, and the answer to our opening question. Section 5. The Wheel of Time, or the Vimshatari Dasha system.
The 120-year timeline of destiny.
Exactly. This is the heartbeat of Hindu astrology. A birth chart, no matter how many spectacular yogas it contains, is just a static promise. It's merely a map of potential. But potential means absolutely nothing without the right timing.
The Vimshatari Dasha is a 120-year planetary timeline, and it's calculated specifically from the exact degree of the moon's nakshatra at the precise moment of your birth.
This is why the exact time of birth is non-negotiable in this system. The exact mathematical position of the moon dictates where you enter this 120-year cycle. Everyone goes through the exact same sequence of planetary periods or mahadashas, but everyone starts at a different point in the sequence based on their moon.
Let's run through the mathematical sequence just to give a sense of the rhythm and the shifting seasons of life.
Okay, the cycle always progresses in this order. It starts with K2 for 7 years.
Okay, 7 years of K2.
Then Venus takes over for 20 years.
Wow, 20 years is a huge chunk.
It is. Then the Sun for 6 years, the Moon for 10 years, Mars for 7 years, Rahu for a massive 18 years.
18 years of Rahu ambition.
Right. Then Jupiter for 16 years, Saturn for 19 years, and finally Mercury for 17 years. If you add all those up, it totals 120 years, which the ancient texts considered the ideal full human lifespan.
Okay, here's my analogy to explain why this matters so much. Having a massive Raja Yoga in your chart is like having a pristine Ferrari parked in your garage.
I love Ferraris. Let's go.
It's beautiful, it represents immense potential, but the dasha is the key to the ignition. If you have a Venus Raja Yoga Ferrari, but you don't run your 20-year Venus dasha until you are 95 years old, you're not going to be doing much racing. The promise is there, but the timing missed your active adult life.
That is exactly right, and it's the most common reason people get frustrated with astrology. The crucial insight K.N. Rao preaches is that a yoga is virtually useless if the dasha of the planets involved does not run during a meaningful time in your life.
The text provides some incredible historical examples of this, proving that success isn't just about having a good chart, it's about the clock striking midnight at the right time.
The sources specifically analyzed the chart of Queen Elizabeth II to illustrate this. She had a chart with profound promises of royalty and authority, but it was her specific dasha sequence that dictated the exact, unexpected timing of her ascension to the throne at such a young age.
It was perfectly timed.
Her chart was the gun. The dasha was the trigger pulled at the exact right moment in history. Similarly, you see charts of politicians with a prominent Rahu-Mercury Raja Yoga. For decades, they might be a mid-level bureaucrat, totally unnoticed. But the moment that Rahu-Mercury dasha activates, the karma ripens overnight, and suddenly they are elevated to prime minister.
I want to connect this to the listener's daily life, because if you're listening to this while stuck in a dead-end job, feeling like your life is paused, feeling anxious that you are failing while everyone else is succeeding, this framework offers a profound psychological reframe. You aren't necessarily failing. You might just be in a Saturn Mahadasha. You are structurally in a season of winter.
And that is why fatalism in astrology is so misplaced and damaging. If you know you're in a difficult, grinding 19-year Saturn period, you don't despair. You understand the architecture of time. You realize this is the winter season of your life. What do you do in winter? You prepare, you endure, you build your foundation, and you learn the hard lessons of discipline. You do this because you know mathematically that spring, the 17-year Mercury period of growth and communication, is guaranteed to arrive. The dasha system teaches patience.
I just love that. So, with the knowledge of the chart structure, the nakshatras, the planetary moods, the acoustic transfer of the past method, the immense power of the yogas, and this incredible 120-year timeline, we've covered a massive amount of architectural ground.
We really have.
As we bring this deep dive in this entire 6-part series to a close, how can a listener practically synthesize all this information? If they pull up their chart tonight, how do they evaluate their own potential without getting lost in a sea of details?
This brings us to our final synthesis, the culmination of everything we've learned from K.N. Rao. To cut through the confusion, the sources provide a highly practical 3-step reality check to evaluate any yoga or promise in a chart.
The 3-step reality check. If you take nothing else away from this episode, take this. Step 1. Is the Lanya strong?
The Lanya, or the ascendant, the sign rising on the eastern horizon at the moment of your birth, is the foundation of the entire chart. It represents your physical body, your physical vitality, and your core identity.
Okay, the foundation.
If the Lanya and the planet ruling it are weak, say, placed in the 8th house of chronic illness and afflicted by enemy planets, the person simply cannot hold or enjoy the wealth or power promised by a yoga.
It's like pouring vintage $1,000 champagne into a paper cup that's full of holes. The champagne is the Raja Yoga, but the cup is a weak Lanya. It just leaks out.
What a tragic waste of champagne.
Right. You might finally get the massive promotion, but your nervous system collapses from the stress or your health fails, so you can't actually enjoy the money.
Exactly. A strong Lanya is the absolute prerequisite for enjoying any good karma. If the foundation is cracked, the mansion will sink. Step 2. Is the yoga planet actually strong on the inside?
Right, so let's say you see a Hamsa Yoga Jupiter sitting in a Kendra. On paper, you have the swan, but you have to reality check it.
You check its mood. Is it truly exalted? Is it being attacked by enemy planets? And crucially, as K.N. Rao emphasizes relentlessly, you must check the Navamsha.
Now, you just dropped a major piece of astrological jargon, the Navamsha. We need to unpack that mathematically so the listener can visualize it. What is it?
The Navamsha is the 1/9 divisional chart. Imagine taking a single 30-degree house in your chart and slicing it into 9 microscopic slivers. Each sliver is exactly 3 degrees and 20 minutes.
So we are putting the planet under a high-powered microscope.
Yes. The main birth chart shows the physical reality, the outward appearance of the planet. The Navamsha shows the hidden internal spiritual dignity of the planet.
Hidden dignity.
A planet might look exalted, powerful, and wealthy in the main birth chart, but when you look at it under the microscope of the Navamsha, you might find it is debilitated and weak.
What does that actually mean in real life? A planet looking strong outside but weak inside.
It's the person who appears to have a perfect, wealthy marriage on Instagram. But behind closed doors, they are deeply miserable, and the relationship is hollow. The outer promise lacked inner strength.
Oh, that is so common.
The sources even note that retrograde benefic planets that appear to be moving backwards lose their power to help. You have to verify the planet's strength at a microscopic level before you predict a royal outcome.
And finally, step 3 is the dasha active.
We just discussed this. The promised event will only manifest when the major period, the Mahadasha or the sub-period, Antardasha, of the involved planets are actually running. The Ferrari needs the key.
So let's summarize the reality check for everyone. 1. Do you have a strong lanya to structurally hold the blessing? 2. Is the planet strong under the microscope of the Navamsha to deliver the blessing? 3. Is the dasha active to trigger the blessing?
That's the holy trinity of prediction.
If you have all 3, it's a sure thing. If you're missing one, the results are muted, delayed, or superficial.
And that 3-step reality check grounds the entire system. It removes the fantasy, it removes the fear-mongering, and it replaces it with analytical rigor. But as we wrap up this series, I want to shift the focus away from the material predictions and look at the ultimate purpose of Hindu astrology.
Yes, let's go there, because after all this talk of Raja Yogas and Ferraris, it's important to remember that this isn't just about predicting when you'll get rich, or when you'll get married, or when you'll get sick.
No, not at all. While it can accurately predict those material events, Hindu astrology is fundamentally a spiritual science. It is a roadmap of your karma. It is designed to show you what you came here to learn.
The texts are so clear that the ultimate goal of life in this philosophy is moksha, liberation.
Think about planets like Saturn and Ketu. In a purely material Western sense, they're considered malefics. We dread them because they cause delay, loss of money, and frustration. But in a spiritual sense, they are the greatest benefactors in the chart.
Because they strip away the illusion of control.
Yes. Saturn brings vairagya, detachment, and self-abnegation. It teaches you that your ego is not the center of the universe. Ketu brings deep introversion, cutting away toxic attachments, and birthing a desire for ultimate liberation.
So if you didn't have...
If your chart only promised wealth, comfort, and easy relationships, if you only had Venus and Jupiter active, you would remain completely entangled in the material world. You would never look inward. The difficult planets are essential for deep spiritual evolution.
So what does this all mean for the listener? It means this system, far from being a fatalistic trap where your life is rigidly predetermined and you are just a helpless victim of the stars, it actually provides a beautifully structured, highly logical roadmap for your personal potential.
Here we go.
It shows you your inherent strengths, it maps the shifting seasons of your life, it highlights the 6th house arenas where you need to stand up and fight, and it reveals the areas where you need to surrender.
It gives you the ultimate context for your life's experiences. You're no longer just randomly suffering or randomly succeeding in a chaotic universe. You are playing out a precise, mathematically calculated karmic curriculum designed entirely for your soul's growth.
Wow. Okay, let's synthesize this incredible journey we've been on. Over this 6-part series, and specifically in today's deep dive, we have journeyed from understanding the basic mathematical grid of the zodiac to profiling the psychological depth of the planetary actors.
We covered a lot of ground.
We learned how they project energy across the chart using the acoustic-like Pei method. We demystified the classical yogas, including the mighty Pancha Mahapurusha Yogas of human greatness. And we've explored the dynamic, ticking 120-year clock of the Vimshatari Dasha system.
And most importantly, we armed you with the practical tools, the 3-step reality check to ensure you're analyzing your potential with rigor, not just wishful thinking.
It has been a massive undertaking, and you have been an amazing guide through these complex philosophical waters. Thank you.
It has been a true privilege to unpack this ancient wisdom. Knowledge is most valuable when we understand the structural why behind it, and I really hope we've provided that clarity today.
I want to leave you, the listener, with a final, slightly mind-bending thought directly inspired by the mechanics of everything we just learned.
Leave them with something to think about.
We started this deep dive by talking about the 120-year mathematical clock, and we naturally look at the dasha system as a timeline of external events, a promotion, a marriage, an illness, an enemy that will happen to us from the outside world.
Right, things happening to us.
But remember the core math. The entire 120-year sequence, the exact timing of every major external event in your life, is calculated from one thing and one thing only: the exact mathematical position of the moon in your mind at the millisecond of your birth.
The Manas, the film strip.
So what if this ancient system is trying to tell you that your external destiny isn't actually happening to you from the outside? What if all those external events, all the successes and all the tragedies are actually just a perfectly timed outward projection of your own internal psychological evolution?
That changes the entire diagnostic landscape. The map isn't out there in the stars, the map is inside you, projecting outward.
Look at your own life's timeline differently. Maybe the stars aren't dictating your path. Maybe your mind is projecting the stars. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive, and for coming along for this entire 6-part journey. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and we will see you next time.